F1, with its electrifying atmosphere, is known to be a serious sport where even the tiniest mistake can end up costing someone their job or even their life. However, between the arch rivalries and the seriousness, drivers often find moments of humor to lighten the mood. It's not all doom and gloom in the world of F1, and in this video, we've some of the funniest moments of F1 to discuss. First up, the deck chair incident from 2015. Back in 2015, during an exceptionally terrible season since his switch from Ferrari to McLaren, Fernando Alonso had his car break down for the second consecutive day at the beginning of the qualifiers race at the Interlagos track in Brazil. Alonso then took to a deck chair to watch the rest of the session and soak up the sun on the Interlagos trackside. Sounds relaxing, right? Pictures of the Spaniard sitting in that deck chair quickly went viral on social media and had him trending on Twitter under the hashtag places Alonso would rather be. And we all know how that ends. Users and fans were quick to Photoshop the Spanish driver sunbathing in his deck chair into various situations that ended up being hilarious. Alonso was seen doctored onto the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, the beach, and even the moon landing. The image has been promptly labeled the deck chair incident and has come to define the wretched year of 2015 for McLaren, where they ended up finishing 9th in the Constructors' Championship. Did anyone think about photoshopping Alonso and his deck chair into the first place on the podium? Just our 2 cents. Next up, the deck chair is back. A year later in 2016, the Spanish driver, Fernando Alonso, found himself in the same position on the same track on the same team. Alonso's McLaren stopped again on the Interlagos track during the second free practice, stranded until the end of the session. Alonso wasn't left with much to do. At first, he simply stood by the sidelines and watched on while kicking a small stone around. Twitter users stated what we were all thinking at the time: if only he had a deck chair. The viral meme hadn't been forgotten, and it seems the prayers of the fans were answered as Alonso managed to get himself in a deck chair once again. This time, the setup was courtesy of a FOM cameraman who gave up his seat, his headphones, and what seems like a mini tutorial of how to work the camera. Everyone watching on and off the racetrack had a field day as Alonso's camera work was broadcast to the world, and the results were kinda shaky. The race commenters labeled it rubbish and called Alonso the worst camera operator ever and told him to stick to driving. But it was all in good fun and humor. As the commentator called it was definitely deja vu at Interlagos. Alonso may be F1's most tenacious driver, but we love that he's also got a bit of sense of humor to keep us entertained on and off the track. And now let's talk about the selfie takeover. In recent years, it's become common practice for drivers to take their cell phones to the podium to make videos, interact with fans, or even go live on their social media platforms. Lewis Hamilton has a huge social media presence with a mass following of 29 million followers on his Instagram account. During the Japanese Grand Prix podium celebrations, Hamilton had his phone on him and during an interview had to put it down. Daniel Ricciardo, a Red Bull driver at the time, saw an opportunity and seized Hamilton's phone. He took over the Mercedes driver's Instagram and made the funniest faces, followed up with his usual infectious belly laugh. He would cross his eyes and just start laughing at his own face, and we couldn't help but smile along with the joyful dude. Hamilton and Ricciardo fans got the surprise of their lives when the happy Aussie's face suddenly popped up on Hamilton's Instagram account. A wholesome and funny interaction on an otherwise dull day in the world of F1. Next, we have Vettel's squeaky strategy. Race weekends are full of electrifying days when drivers and their teams are on their very best toes to make sure everything is looking good and feeling good. They calculate every possible scenario in order to know what and when to expect at any given moment. While there may be lots of analyzing and strategizing going on in the paddock for various teams, who knew a winning strategy was as simple as buying a squeaky toy for the opposition driver's pet dog? Well, clearly Sebastian Vettel knew, and that's exactly what he ended up doing. The German racer went and bought a squeaky toy for Lewis Hamilton's bulldog, Roscoe. On the surface, it seems like a nice, harmless gesture, right? But we're beginning to suspect a larger strategy was at play, and Vettel was just employing some clever tactics to outthink his opponent. In an interview, Hamilton revealed that the squeaky toy didn't stop squeaking and making noises all night long, to which Vettel responded with, "I won the next day." Squeaky move, Vettel. Up next is the Austrian Grand Prix. We've seen crashes, raging fires, and loose tires on the F1 circuit tracks, but there was a time in 2001 during the Austrian Grand Prix when a deer, yep, the cute animal friend from Bambi, showed up and driver Juan Montoya had to be warned accordingly. The team radio call was between Colombian driver Juan Pablo Montoya and team engineer Williams. The conversation starts with Williams claiming on the radio that that they've seen a deer. We believe it's somewhere on the circuit, and proceeded to tell the driver to come in the next turn with some caution. Montoya acknowledges the statement with "oh dear," which is a clever play on words, although completely lost on his team engineer. Williams proceeds to explain once again and calls the deer like a horse with horns, and Montoya repeats his joke and proceeds to laugh at himself. Laughing at his own pun at 180 miles per hour, only Juan Montoya would be capable of doing that. The moment has become an iconic line, and many fans remember the spontaneity of the situation with a chuckle or two. And now, Kimi Raikkonen on the Monaco yacht. Kimi Raikkonen, or better known as the Iceman, was known for being ruthless on the track, especially during the 2000s. Although he did soften up in the later part of his career, and his disdain for the media circus was well known, Raikkonen carried himself with the most effortless, cool vibe we've ever seen, right up till his retirement in this elite sport. His comical attitude, a razor-sharp wit, and love for the sport made him one of the most entertaining and beloved racers of all time. For the world of F1 racing, the mid-2000s were a time of sensually indulgent races, and nothing was a better example of that than the glitz and glamour of the Monaco Grand Prix, the most heavily awaited race each year. During the 2006 Monaco GP, Raikkonen's McLaren came to a blazing stop as it suffered a heatsink failure which caused the car to erupt into flames on the side of the track. Any other driver would have shaken off the debris and walked back to the paddock, seething with frustration. Definitely not the case with Raikkonen. The Finnish driver, instead of returning to the pit for a debrief, simply walked away, smothered in CO2 from the fire extinguisher, to a yacht his family had parked on the marina around the track. The legendary driver spent the remaining part of the race with his shirt off, his chill mode on, with an ice-cold beer to keep him company. You see a lot of unique things in the Monaco GP, but Kimi Raikkonen chillaxing in his yacht after his car burst into flames has to be at the top of the list. And finally, we have Sebastian Vettel's press conference antics. Sebastian Vettel has given us plenty of hilarious moments over the years, and one of them takes us back to Abu Dhabi in 2014. During the Abu Dhabi GP press conference, a German journalist by the name of Walter Koster decided to unintentionally test the driver's memories by asking the longest question we've ever heard being asked during a conference. The man did so in a thick, heavy German accent with lots of pauses, and it seemed like the question went on forever, timed at 1 minute and 7 seconds. Whoa! The journalist had the time to quote Nico Rosberg, Sebastian Vettel, and Niki Lauda, until finally asking if the technology was too complicated in race cars today. Expectedly, the 6 drivers present at the conference were desperately trying hard not to laugh as the question droned on, including Sebastian Vettel, who really tried to keep a straight face. As soon as the question ended, Vettel, in true Vettel fashion, asked the journalist if he could repeat the question, and the entire room just burst into laughter. We guess keeping it short and simple wasn't really the journalist's forte. That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any thoughts about F1's funniest moments? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.